But that wedding was wild. The finale was wild. So I am excited actually for the Jersey reunion. I just don't know where they go from this. And I know, like I know they're on pause potentially. I know I'm curious. Like the people that work behind the scenes in Bravo, it must be like therapy for them. They have to like deal with all of these characters and try to talk people into coming back and try to cool off the situation. It just seems wild.
Did you see the thing that came out where Teresa was speaking about her needing to return next season because she has 4 daughters and Gia's going to law school? And she's like, I need to return. Like, I need the money. I need to be back on the show. And she was explaining this because obviously we saw in the trailer where Teresa looks at Melissa and she's like, I can't wait till I never have to see your face again after today. And
she's like, where are you going?
Yeah. And she's like, you're going. But everybody's kind of wondering what's going on. Now, I know that they're on hiatus, and I've heard a few reasons as to why they're actually on hiatus. But for Teresa and Melissa, who actually knows how they're going to be able to film this? And then you said, imagine the people being on the show and having to kind of deal with all of this. Well, you know, Carlos King spoke out about Melissa and Joe and Teresa and his viewpoint on this. I want to play this.
Listen, this show means a lot to Melissa in a very different way of what it means to Teresa. I think, to your point, listen, I think anybody who watches the show can see that Melissa wants to be the top dog, and she has trouble with Teresa constantly winning in the end. And this, I'm gonna tell you, it was the season where Danielle Staub, one of my favorites of all time.
Yes,
it was the season where Danielle Staub
said no one ever.
Unfortunately, Melissa, like, Teresa told me to pull the hair. What I saw was this excitement of Melissa getting the tea. Like, well, she did what? And I think in Melissa's mind, she was like, oh, baby, it's going down. Yes. Teresa. And look, I think a lot of people thought Teresa would never recover from it. But one thing about Teresa, the reason why Teresa always wins in the end is because she cops to it.
So he continues on saying that pretty much Teresa is always going to be the front runner on the show. And if Bravo had to choose between Teresa and Melissa, they're most likely going to choose Teresa, which Kim Diaz said multiple times on David Yontef's Behind the Velvet Rope. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've said this many times, is that Teresa, even if you like her or you hate her, she's on the Mount Rushmore of housewives. I mean, she really is Jersey in a lot of ways. But I always I don't like when the housewife gets bigger than the show, or they think they're bigger than the show. I did not like in the reunion trailer how she's like, you're going to go. Like, I don't want any of these ladies calling the shots. I want them to have a healthy fear of production, a healthy fear of Andy. And I don't need them to play nice at all, and nor would they. But I think it is interesting because she's kind of held the show hostage. Also, the Jersey fandom, it's hard for me to talk about because there's like toxicity there that truly is wild. Like, if you go on Twitter in Jersey, it shocks me the things they're gonna arrest everybody on Jersey because everybody's just uncovering financial records. I mean, Melissa, if you put her on any other franchise, she would do much better. It's like this, she's locked into this war that I agree with Carlos. She's never going to win, not because she's not smart enough or good enough. It's just because Teresa is so established. Right. But Teresa, like I said, you can't argue with Teresa because there's something not connected in her brain. Like it's like what? She doesn't take in information the way a lot of people take in information. And she kind of just turns to anger really quickly. The other thing is, and I hate to, like, we all do, I want Teresa to be very happy, of course, but there is that nagging feeling, and Bravo thinks this as well, is that I'm sorry, something's up with Louis, period. Like, there's not, like, I want her to be happy, but I think it's one of these Vanderpump things of like, yeah, keep her on the show. So when all of this shit goes down, we'll be able to cover it because something's up with that man. You could also, by the way, I'm saying something's up with Joey too, but something's up with that dude.
I posted a poll about this asking, do you guys think that there's any potential? And sure, could this be, Ryan, might it have been a little shady? Maybe a little. But the poll was just simply asking, so far on Hulu, we've gotten The Housewife and the Hustler, The Housewife and the Shawshocker, and the Randall Scandal. So I was wondering, could Louis be the next potential documentary? And everybody's like, Adam, there's no red flags. This is ridiculous. And I'm like,
wait, people really said there's no red flags?
No red flags. I was like, red flags.
But wait, there's not even speculation. I mean, you can point to all of the different court cases. You can point to the financial improprieties with his company. Wait, I mean, even if you're the biggest Louis fan in the world, you got to say there are these things that are out there that will have to be answered for in the court of law at some point, on top of many women's stories that, unless you just want to say all of these women are lying, I mean, maybe Teresa is the one and, has helped him change his ways. But I mean, I've talked to some of these victims. I mean, I don't know. I think that's a very interesting thing that there's no red flags. So I guess we'll see. Time will tell. But I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of red flags. But he seems great sometimes on TV. He seems very charming. I do agree with that.
I mean, that's a red flag in itself, because it's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde a little bit. But also Margaret saying on the reunion trailer that you called and threatened my son at his job, and he's like, I didn't do that. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I mean, the Bo Dietl of it all, they saying, the private investigator has a folder on everybody. I mean, there's some wild stuff, and it seems like this man especially is very comfortable with threatening. And then when he gets called on it, he like gets a flash of like devil anger. It seems like even that photo you set, of him like just being freaky. I'm sorry. I mean, like, guys, I know also Joey Gorga has his things, but come on, that's a giant literal red flag right there. He's a tomato.
He's a tomato. Okay. But then also with the harassment lawsuit against his business, which is obviously not the harassment that people are thinking about. It is through calling her and trying to sell her on services. And she was on the do not disturb pretty much call list, and they kept calling her. So the lawsuit isn't as huge as people are thinking, but there are multiple things that keep adding up when it comes to this. And the rumor was that Caroline Manzo originally, and Andy talks a little bit about this in his book, Daddy Diaries, but originally they wanted to bring on Caroline Manzo to come on and have this like altercation that we've all been waiting for with Teresa. And then
Brandy screwed it up. Brandy screwed it up for everybody.
And they were going to phase Teresa out, bring Caroline Manzo in, and kind of cap off the rest of Teresa's story. Teresa wants to go to the West Coast anyways. And I don't know if Teresa would have wanted to be phased out, but Andy also talks about in Daddy Diaries how after one of the last reunions, she was crying, and he had the conversation with her, and he felt like she was genuinely done. And she messaged him after that, and she was like, no, I'm not done. I don't want to quit. I love the show. I want to be a part of the show. And he's like, okay, but she called him out about this at Watch What Happens Live. And she's like, I want to talk to you about what's in your book.